Rincuni, and welcome to Africana. Africana is a youth platform where we share perspectives on our journey towards a free mind and a free life. And our pilot episode, our first episode ever, will be about sisterhood and enjoying every season of it with none other than my lovely sister, Kawiria Rincuni, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Kawiria Rincuni, and for purposes of this conversation, I will introduce myself as Clara's big sister. Yeah, I'm looking forward to having this conversation with you.
Okay, so I'll kick off with the first point of discussion. Maybe you can share how far apart we are in terms of age, not just the specific age, just the difference. Yeah. So that there's a context as to our discussion.
Okay, so I can proudly say that I'm 8 years older. Clara was born when I was in class 3. That was class 3, yeah, that was class 3. And I remember the day she was born, I refused to go to school. So that I can stay home and wait for her to come, so that I can see who this new baby is. Yeah.
Okay, so do you think how we are in our relationship, how we live in our relationship is highly influenced by how mom and dad are?
Yeah, pretty much I would say. That our first interaction and they're the ones who shape the people that we become today. I mean, because they are very involved in our lives, very involved in our lives. Yeah.
So I asked that because most of the times when you're having relationships in the outside world, there's an illusion that you're in a silo, right? That this is how I do life, this is how I choose to do things. But then what I wanted us to, or rather talk about on this question specifically, is that sometimes the nuances that you had when you were growing up, you carry them subconsciously, For instance, I remember when Mom was telling us about how she stayed with Auntie Justa, as actually she was telling me how she stayed with Auntie Justa before we started living together, as kind of, this is the preparation.
Yeah.
I don't know if she talked to you about how to live together before we lived together.
Yeah, I think the angles are probably different in the sense that maybe she was talking to you from a point of you're living with someone and this is how you should be. And for me it was, someone is coming to live with you, this is how you should be able to accommodate the people. So I really like that about Mom, like where she looks at the angle and then she approaches you based on that angle. So how she'll talk to you to both of us is completely different, because first of all she understands that we are so different. So the approach is completely different. So she talked to me, but it was more from a point of, okay, so now you're the one who's the grown up, you're the leader, and you're the one who's going to take care of her. So this is how you can be able to accommodate. It's like your child now, so you're the one who's responsible for her,
for this. And I really appreciated the insights, especially because when we were living together, when we started living together, I had lived with people previously in the hostel, but it was very different dynamics, because in the hostel you have a caretaker, you have there's some sense of you are alone in a shared space, as opposed to we are together in a common, we share a life and we share a space together. So I wanted to also, we go deeper on this point in terms of conflict. Do you think that when we did stay together, do you think your conflict resolution skills were challenged? Especially because there's a difference between conflict resolution at work, conflict resolution with friends, and a sister who you're going to see every day, who is maybe young, who, I don't know if you feel, because sometimes I feel it, you're half responsible for me. So what's your journey through conflict resolution, especially in a relationship?
So it started from conflict avoidance. Like, and the journey started, actually started from conflict avoidance. Like, where I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, I hope nothing happens that will, make us like be at loggerheads.
Yeah.
And I realized it's not a practical life to live because, of course, no one is perfect.
Yeah.
So I will definitely do things that don't sit right with you, and you'll do things that don't sit right with me.
Yeah.
And then, so the next from conflict avoid. Okay, well, I don't have a step to step at what do you call it? Like, I don't have a step to step of how it happened in my mind. I'm just like trying to remember it as we go. So it's like, I think it was conflict avoidance, and then it was the realization that, okay, wow, we are human, and we definitely, things have to happen that do not sit right with either one of us.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, how do I approach it? Like, because at the end of the day, I don't want to approach it in a way that hurts you, or in a way that makes you feel that I'm superior to you, like, I'm not your mother. Like, for lack of a better word, I'm not your mother. Or you can be like, you're not my mother, so what are you telling me? So I was really cognizant of such a situation arising. So I do want to make you feel, because also when someone is living with you and you're older, there's always that feeling of like you're the mother hen. Like, I wanted you to be free.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted you to be able to talk to me about anything that you're going through. I wanted you to feel free to approach me for whatever. So I know if I had that whole superior and I'm the one who's in charge sort of thing, like, I'll be blocking you from doing that. So I from reaching the point of that like, trying to figure out how to approach it, I think just accepting that we're human. Then I think we had something happened, and then like we had to face it.
Yeah.
And for me, that was like the beginning of, okay, she's also mature enough to understand whatever has happened is not the right thing. Yeah. And we have to. You can't remember. I'm like, should I? Anyway, I'm just saying, like, the one time that the first time that I was able to approach you.
Yeah.
It was not easy to approach you. I don't know if you remember the situation, but
we'll talk about it.
But like, I was just like, okay, I have to confront this. And when I did it, and I realized that you're also mature enough to understand.
Yeah.
Like, and just maybe I can give an example just to give context. For instance, you've cooked and you finished cooking and you've eaten, and then the dishes have just filled the sink, and the next person who comes either has to clean them for them to use the kitchen, or look for you, and when it's something that continues over time, and maybe you come and wash the first time, then the second time it will happen, then you come and wash. If you don't say it, then it will just look like it's a normal thing to do. Well, ideally, it's not a normal thing to do, especially if you're living with people. You have to leave the place in a way that the next person can be able to use. So, like, just now, that process of how do I how do I approach you and tell you that, oh, you know what, when you wash your dishes and when you eat, you need to clean, like, you need to leave the place in a way that the next person who's coming can be, and then now it's also the other party understanding. Now you understanding that when I'm saying it, I'm not coming from a bad place or from a superior place. It's just more of like, okay, we need to live cordially, like, so that, like, I would give an example like that, and now it like cuts across many other things. But I think in the period that we stayed together, which was like almost 3 years, I think it was the best time. And also I learned that I can actually live with someone who is not a partner, like, I can actually, and I don't think we had, I don't know, maybe it's because we're sisters and we have been raised the same, but we didn't have like any major differences. Like, we lived, like, we could live forever together. It would be really good.
Even on my end, I wasn't sure how to approach things, especially when it came to responsibility. Just to give some context to guys who are listening, when I finished, immediately I was fresh out of campus, I started living with my sister. So at that point, when I started living with you, I was not earning at that time. and you were the mother hen. And even how mom and dad were talking to me, it is mom, Mercy is your mother, you know. We are now in Meru. This is going to be your mom. This is, you know, she's your she's your guardian, you know. So even when I was coming into it, I was like, okay, this is how I'm supposed to behave in this in this certain setting.
Yeah.
But then as the more we continued living together, I realized that's not practical. Like that's not how we relate with each other. But I just used to, when they talk, I'm like, okay, yes, for sure. When it came to, then I got the first job. But then when I got my first job, I didn't know how to bring up that I would want to do something without it looking like, don't I provide? Don't I, you know, don't I already do all these things for you? How come you want to do this? So I remember when we were having that conversation, you were very welcoming. And those conversations we were having opened the door to now the segment this second part I'm going to, in terms of what we learned about not even each other, but just what we've learned from living together. It opened a door for me to talk about anything to you, because when I was talking about things that I thought you would flip, the demeanor was very welcoming. It was almost like, oh my God, let me give you a hug. Oh my, you know, like it's very welcoming. And you know, sometimes, especially when it comes to things like finances, when it comes to things like career choices, in as much as we put our best foot forward, there's also a lot of insecurity or rather doubt behind it. So I was worried before we started living together, I was worried like, my sister has it all figured out, you know, like how am I going to say I don't even know how to manage the money I had at the time. So the first thing you really taught me, or rather the one thing I've learned, I learned from living with you, is that I not only had a sister, but I had a friend, and an experienced friend, you know, because I used you as a reason check, you know, and even till date, I go through life, and I know you go through a situation, and I know this is the best situation, this is the best decision I can make for myself. But in my mind, I'm like, are you sure, Clara? Are you sure? Are you really sure? What makes you, you know, and then there's those questions for, you've never done it before, or you've never, you know, like for instance, the first time I decided I want to move out, the fear that was behind, I was like, I've never lived alone before. I don't know how, yes, I earn, but I don't know how to make my money stretch, you know, because I've always been in a comfortable environment, and in an environment where mom and dad are very willing to, like, it's like, never struggle, we are here. You know? So I've really learned the value of sharing and growing through those experiences with you, whether they are good or bad, you know, mistakes. I've really learned the value of sharing, and growing through sharing. Maybe have you learned from?
So this is from the time we started like living together. I think to be honest is okay. I usually say to be honest a lot because I'm being honest and I'm saying it bad. But yeah, like I think the thing I've benefited the most from living with you and just how we relate is a validation that I actually, like, the experience that I've had matters, and that it can impact a person, you know, like it can impact another person. Like like sometimes I'm just like, maybe I'm just going through it, like what is all this for? And sometimes the what is all this for is answered by when you come to ask me certain questions. Like the times you've asked me about relationships, about career, about finances. Like when you when you were saying about my demeanor, in how I reacted to you coming to me with questions, like, was very welcoming. It's because I was like, what, you're actually asking me about this, you know? And even me, I'm like, I have actually experienced this, or actually have an idea of what this situation means, you know, and I'm able to give advice. Like, I don't know, I probably do it subconsciously to friends and stuff, but like coming from you, you know, and then also just knowing that there's someone who looks up to me. Like, there's one part, like, in this entire world of billions of people, like, there's one person who looks up to me. So whether I am doing it right or I'm doing it wrong, like, they're still looking, and they're just like, okay, so my next step needs to be like, you know, to be like, and you've worked with me through my journey, so to say. Like, even when you were young, you've been that one person who's watching. Like, I just know, like, I might not have other people watching, or of course you always do, but there's that one person who I feel that whatever it is that I'm doing influences a lot of who they, you know, like, how they view things. So I think, like, that I think I would say is my biggest benefit from the relationship that we've had, and even staying together. It was something that I needed, and I didn't know that I needed. So it, like, helped shape me as well. It helped shape me. It helped shape my decisions. It helped me also value our relationship more, because our personalities are a bit same but different. I don't even know how to, like, we are those people, we're like solitude people. So
I think our values are the same, but our personalities are different to some point, you know. But then we have very similar tendencies, you know. How there's even a time when we were younger, someone called and I picked up and they didn't know it was me. They thought it was you. Because of our intonation, you know, sometimes it's not even it's like, hi, how are you?
So much picking the phone with so much excitement.
Energy.
It's a weird thing, but anyway.
So I think we are very similar, but we're also different. And I think in our time together, we learned how different we are. And I also we accommodated each other.
Yeah, I think it was very important. Like, for instance, in terms of like how we live. Like, for me, I'm the kind of person who will just sit. Like, I don't mind being alone. And I think also you don't mind being alone. So it's very easy for us not to interact as much. But then there'll be a time where we, like, when we're interacting, Yani, it's like catching up, you know, like, there's a lot. And at first I used to guilt myself. I'm like, oh my god, I haven't talked to Clara, I don't talk to her every day, we don't catch up. But now, given the opportunity of staying together and just seeing our personalities magnify, I'm like, oh, it's because we are like this. But when we're together, like, we're together, you know. And also, even when we are alone, it's not that we are apart or we don't care about each other. We're just alone because maybe we are recharging, because also we are energizer bunnies. Like we have a lot of energy, and then, like, the energy just runs out, and you're like, I need to recharge.
And that's actually, I feel like that's a very healthy experience for me, because I used to feel, okay, in terms of personality, I'm very extroverted. And whenever I was staying with other people, I used to feel a need to be the same Clara, to be consistent, especially when you're staying with a lot of females in the same hostel. There's a tendency to nitpick on each other. So I didn't want my personality to be, sometimes to be moody. Actually, that's the word that was mostly used. So I used to, because when I'm with people, I'm extroverted. But in every single day, I need a lot of hours on my own to just reflect. You know how you just...
like, you give out so much, you need time to just, like, now, you know, like, feel in the what you've emptied.
Yes. And I really like the fact that both of us respected that, you know.
Even without talking about
it, you know.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'd be in my room even like the whole day, and you'd not be like,
what are you doing? Are you okay?
Are you know? Yeah. And even you sometimes.
As long as I know you're alive, like I can hear, like, you know, you can just hear activity.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, cool.
There's stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And then of course there's, in terms of food, there's things.
Yeah.
But that giving each other space to actually be who the other person is without labeling them, you know, because sometimes people, like for me, I was very conscious about how I relate with you because I felt like, the way you're saying, like, to me sometimes you really walk on water, you know. It's like, wow, this babe walks on water.
Okay.
Like, it's like when you sneeze glitters.
I die.
And you see, and that's something. It's a conversation I was also having with Mom, and I was telling her, you know, the same way you tell me I'll always be that, I'll always be your little girl, your daughter, and your baby. It's the same way me, I'll always see Mercy like
the older,
you know, not even the older, but I really used to emulate a lot of the things you did. And then it's also in terms of experience, the fact that you've gone through a lot of the things that I've been going through, especially in the softer parts of life, like relationships with friends, family, even within our, you know, family. It's easier to maneuver, and it was easier to accommodate myself because of our relation. I was like, and I know you remember that period of time when I had conflict inside of what the hell am I doing? Is what I'm doing even the right thing, you know? And the fact that you valued me gave me a basis of valuing myself, you know? And I really appreciate that you took every single part. Like, it was not, you know, this thing is nice about you, but not like the other. It's not like... it wasn't really nitpicking. Basically growth and change in our sisterhood, because both of us have gone through very different school systems, but we've kind of been socialized in kind of different ways. I would say because most of my primary high school was in the reserve, and then now campus is where I came to the city versus you now being city girl. So in terms of evolving, how do you deal with that? Maybe I can start to give a guidance.
Context.
Oh, context, actually. When I was aware, you know, there's that your siblings, but you're not aware that, I mean, it's just, we are many in the house, you know. When I was first aware that I had a sister was when I was making the decision to go to boarding school.
I was killing that vibe, I was just like, why would you want to go to boarding school? Why?
Yeah.
Because I had been in a boarding school for a short stint in the reserve that I was just like, my God, bad, worst experience. Like,
why
would you want to take it? Like, you can use me as your sounding board to tell you what's the
experience is. And that's the first time I mentally considered that I have a sister, because from what I had observed, the life is better for boarding, because me, who was staying at home, all these things don't happen.
God, that was a completely different setup.
You were going for shopping, and then let me tell you, and you know, it's the whole grandiosity of things that I was like, hey, okay, at home here we are not getting the same vibes, and then always when you used to come for holiday, the mood was so bright, like everyone was so happy to see you. There was no correction or, you know. So I was like, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
And I had thought about it. And I was like, yeah, that's the next move. I need to move from this school. That was class 6 to 7.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to move from this school, go to boarding. Preferably somewhere far where people will miss me, you know. And I remember that it was a huge, not argue, it was actually a debate because Kina Mom and Dad were
Sorry,
like...
when you were going to Sacred, I was in campus. I'd already finished.
Finished?
Yeah. I'd finished high school. I'd finished.
So that was the premise of, that's where my mind was.
Yeah.
And I remember Dad and Mom telling me, it's going to be hard because Mercy had said no. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What does Mercy have to do with me going to school?
Yeah.
And she's not even, like, I did not see the hindrance of Mercy in this story. And they're like, it's your elder sister. You have to talk to her. And you know how in our family, it's discussions.
Yeah.
So I had to have a discussion with you.
Yeah.
And I was really like, you're killing my vibe. Like,
Yeah.
you're killing it. You're killing it.
Dude, I've never thought about it. Like, I've never had this conversation. It's so funny.
Yeah. So that was, I think, the first time I was like, I have a big sister, you know, and this big sister holds all the weight in the decisions. Yeah. So then now when I went to boarding, it was so quick, to a very quick realization that what Mercy was telling me was actually shy of what is happening here, because things were hard. Things were so hard. And then that time, like, I just really struggled with the whole boarding aspect, in terms of diet, in terms of love and care. And that was the biggest thing for me. No one cared.
Yeah.
The only people who cared are teachers, and they cared about grades. You know, it's like, are you passing? Are you not passing? Are you sick? Is that sickness extreme? You know, it's like...
Are you going to infect others?
And even, let me tell you...
And if you're not sick enough, like, you're not sick, like, you're just in class, you pretend... Guy, I'm just... You know, I'm happy that you're saying this, because I don't think I need my case. I argued my case strongly enough, because like, that's exactly my experience when I was in boarding school. I think I went to boarding school in class 5 to 6. It was the worst experience. Like, I couldn't even... I was trying to explain to people like what this experience is. I'm like, this is not better, but you've explained it very well. Like, you know, in summary, you know, love and affection, like, just lacking. Diet. Me, I used to be thin. I used to look like I was in a prison.
It was bad.
So I was like, stick wants to go. But anyway, actually, I was surprised that you even stayed to the end, because I couldn't. I did stay to the end. And then I remember now in class 8, you bought me a magazine called She. Yeah. I don't know if you remember that. I can't remember.
It was just about woman, like being a girl, adolescence. So it was a it was a thick magazine called She, and it was more educative. Like, it wasn't educative. It was like Shout, but more informative. Yeah. And the whole term, I was just reading, and I was like, wow, like, no one has told me, you know, the conversations in boarding school are not the same conversations we were having in day school, because in boarding, especially in the reserve, ladies are mature. Like, people are very mature. So I was so confused, because I don't know about boys. Like, the way I was also viewing boys was like a kazi, like, you know, not the way people were viewing. And then I was like, let me also start not investigating, but let me also start seeing if these things are actually true. Then I went to high school. In high school, we were not so close because of the difference in, I think we were just
Yeah,
you were mature. I was a kid.
Yeah, I was in campus. Like, I was also going through my own campus experience. And
Yes. So I would say that period of our relationship, it was very observatory from my end. I just used to observe, and I'm like, wow, she's so sharp. Like, she's so, like, it's like, girl.
I'm like me.
Yeah, and then even in terms of friends, you were very confident in saying you have friends, because I didn't see that a lot in the school system. Like, people used to hide friends. You were very confident. You even used to invite male friends at home, like, and I'm like, yes. So, and you talk, and it was very welcoming. It set a pace for me, And then now when I was in campus is when I felt confident to talk to you about things. I think when I was younger, I didn't know what to say. I was just in awe. There's that point. I think
it's also like probably puberty stage, like where I think it's also just adolescence, where you're growing. So you also don't know what to talk about, and also the things that you're talking about sometimes feel embarrassing. Because you're just like, am I going to talk about a boy? Like, what if she thinks that I am, I don't know, having a thing and I'm not? Like, I just have questions.
So then now in university is when I took an active role. Actually, I was more mentee. I was more of a mentee, and then when we started staying together, I considerably took an active role in our relationship. That's when I started asking myself, what can I do for you? I had never thought, when I was growing up, it was like, my sis will do it. And it was never a question. Actually, it's unfortunate. Okay, it's fortunate or unfortunate, but all through when I was growing up, it was never a question of whether you'll do something for me or not. It was, I knew
that you will.
I know if I need something, my sister will do. If I, even in university, I was like, I'm confident in that decision because my sister was there. But, and then when now we started living together, is when I started asking myself, what can I do for you? How can I also be that person for you? And that's where I am to right now, because I also ask myself, what can I do for you? And it's not monetary or it's more also emotional availability. How can I also share my life with you the way you shared yours with me? Yes.
Okay. I actually get it. And you describing that whole process, like from when you discovered your sister, even I had a moment of realization. Well, I can't pinpoint it because when you came, actually, before when you were conceived and mom was pregnant with you, they actually came to ask me, like, so, like, we're getting a sister, are you okay with that? Like, it was a whole conversation for me to be prepared for you to come. So I feel like at that point, well, I was so young, but I remember having that conversation because we were in Meru, we were at Yoyo Sabe's shop, and they all had talked to me because I was just like, I was because Yoyo was asking me, do you want to have a sister? And I'm like, no, like I was okay, like, why do I need a sister? Then they're like, that time mom was so heavily pregnant. They're like, oh my god, we have to talk to her to explain to her what it means to have a sister. So that conversation started then, and then there's the day you are coming. Now I'm like, gosh, there's a new person coming to our house, and like she's so small and she's brand new. So there's also that part, but now the realization for the responsibility, where like I'm actually a big sister, and I need to be, I don't know, like, is it take care or, and like sort of defend you. I think it's just when we were in primary school and you joined Hospital Hill, like when you joined the school that I was. You were in class. I was in class. 8. Yeah. And I was just like, no one is going to disturb my sister. Like, like I think that was the first feeling of responsibility towards or accountability towards you. And I was just like, who said what?
Yeah.
Where is your sweater?
Yeah.
Who took it? Like your bottle? Who took? Yeah.
Like we'll find it.
Yeah, we'll find. Like we'll go to the sand place, like where you guys used to play, we look for things. So like in that sense, I felt that responsibility and accountability towards you. That for me was the aha moment where like, this is the role you play as a sister. Yeah. Then as we go along, of course, there's the one for, campus, when we're in different places. Like, so you're in high school, I'm in campus. Yeah. Mostly in high school, of course, you are away from home. Yeah. So I was at home, then when you come for holiday, like there was that whole, okay, you're back on holiday. Oh, nice to see you. Let's watch movies. Like, we'd exchange things. Like if I had movies or music, like I just felt like I need to give you or entertain you. Yeah. and keep you like just excited. Yeah, excited and knowing what's happening. Yeah. I think now that's we could that time we weren't talking, but we were exchanging things.
Yes.
Like
especially
music. Yeah, music, movies, even books. I don't know.
Not okay.
Much. Books it's later.
Exchanging. Thank you for using the word exchanging. Because I actually used to take a book.
Oh yeah. By exchange I meant I give you. So yeah, like I used to give. I felt that's how we used to connect at that point. Because even I didn't, like 8 years is. There's a time it feels like a big gap, and it's mostly between high school and campus. Like it feels like our worlds are so different. Yeah. So there's nothing really to talk about. It's just more of, okay, now let me share with you what my world is through other things, not through conversation. Like the conversation that time I was trying, the boys learning about
cool kids. Yeah.
I was a cool kid. No. Also no, I've never been a cool kid. But yeah, like just caught up with the busyness of campus. Whether it's like hanging out with friends, and then there's projects, assignments. And just not trying to also just be me, and dealing with kina mom and dad. Always like I was always in trouble, like coming home late. Like I had too many friends. Yeah. Like right now, so they're like, "Why aren't you going out? Why are you staying in the house so much?" Anyway, but there's always time for everything.
What do you think are the biggest differences between firstborn and lastborn life? Because you're firstborn life, and you can see from your perspective. Some differences, and me, I'm lastborn side, and I can see also from my side the things.
So from a firstborn side, I think there is like expectations for you to be the one who is setting pace. Okay, let me say like setting pace for the rest. That I've been like, us it's only 2 kids, so let me maybe speak for just 2 kids. I can't speak for the ones that are many. I don't know, but for like I'm setting pace for you. Like I just have to keep on like moving from like I can't be over there at 10 steps and 10 steps back. Like I feel like we are pace setters, and not even because we're supposed to be like that, because that's the expectation, either from parents, from society. Like guys would be like, oh, what does Kawi do? And then what does Clara do? There's that expectation of set pace for you. And even from the parents, I would say that there's this becomes like your child. So like when you're explaining how kina mom went to Meru and they left, they're like, you're taking care of your sister. Your sister is like your child. Like you just make sure she's okay, that she's happy. And I'm like, okay. And let me tell you, it's a big role. Job, it's a big, because I'm just like, she needs to be comfortable, she needs to be happy. Like I don't want you to struggle. The same life that kina mom give you, mom and dad give you, is the same life that I also want to offer you when I am responsible for you, especially like when you're under my roof. And I know that's what could have caused the would I call it a challenge of you knowing where to step in and play a role, like whether it's taking care of something, maybe utilities or whatever. I understand that, because in that sense I'm like, I just need to make sure she's happy. Like I don't want her to be stressed about we haven't paid or there's no food. It can't happen. like for me it wasn't even a possible, like I was just like, it can't happen. So whatever it is that I was going through, I just like, actually you were top of mind. I was like, how is Clara going to take this? How, if this is happening and it has to happen, okay, how do I make sure that I have cushioned her from any, like I don't want her to feel stressed, I don't want her to feel frustrated, or I don't want her to feel like I am, because then she takes that responsibility and I'm like, it's not her responsibility for her to take care of my troubles.
Okay.
Then another thing I think is that firstborns are, you look up, I think lastborns look up to firstborns. I don't know if it's in every setting, but from our relationship between me and you, I feel like you always looked up to me. And of course, because I'm older, we share a house, like we've been raised in the same setup. So I'm pretty much the example that you can be able to look up to based on our socialization. Yeah, and I think that it sometimes it can feel like a big role to play, but it's also an important role because it keeps me in check, because I'm just like, hey, I need to, have my act together, keep my act together, because Clara is looking up to me. Yeah, and then what else? Oh yeah, oh my God, firstborns are protectors. Let me tell you, when you come and tell me, I don't know, a boy has done what, I am just like, what?
Really?
Like, sometimes you even feel like taking charge of it. Of course you can't, like, but there's that I feel like I want to protect you, I want to defend you. I want people to take time to understand you the same way that, and even it could be anywhere, even at work or with friendships. Like when you tell me like what has happened, like maybe a situation has happened and you like trying to figure out, I'm like, Ati, who did what? Why? Like, why can't they? Yeah, so it's that protection and defense. Like, I want to do it for you. Like, I want to call the person who did, and like be like, why? What do you want to, like, yeah. I think pretty much that's pretty much
it.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, a friend of mine told me that it's good to walk on the shoulders of giants. I thank God that I am a lastborn because there's precedence. You know how even in our family itself, there are things that happen between me and the parents that I'm not sure I know how to approach. Or maybe I want something, but I'm not sure if that approach will work. So I'm like, oh, by the way, I want to tell them this. How do you think I should go about it? When you get, then it's like, okay, I've done. I really appreciate that. I would say for lastborns, when we come, I don't know if I speak for everyone, but in my experience, when I came into the world, it was a world full of possibilities. It was your God's gift on earth. Yeah, like so.
Like all the attention is on you, like this new baby. Yeah.
And then in terms of self, I was very conscious to not be you. I don't know if you ever felt,
yeah.
I was very, even how sometimes they would even clothe, like, I was like, I don't want people to think I'm your,
like you're coping, or like you're
exactly, or I'm coping, or it's like, oh, you're just like, see, that's Nani's masses, like,
I know the last thing is that you have hand-me-downs, so
I was very conscious about it until I went into university and I started doing internships, and I realized the mileage of your name, how, and your character, in terms of, because people have had a positive experience with you, they don't have a negative bias with me, and it just, thank God that we are very similar. So even when they do have an experience with me, it's bonus. It's like heightened, as opposed to if I was just alone. They're like, oh, that's a good employee. But they're like, wow, you guys are really good, you guys have a really good work ethic. You guys have a really good Initaje vibe. So then now when I was older, it's something I actually embrace. And sometimes I also bring it up. I'm like, oh, by the way, I've noticed, you know, my sister. I'm her sister. You know, like... You know how
I'm like right now I'm just like, oh my
God, so I'm like so
yeah.
Even by the time people are asking me by any chance, I'm like, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And before actually I remember you ever telling me, you like, guys keep on asking me if you're related. But that time it was a point of irritation as opposed like I can't remember when that was, like I think in beginning of campus. Because like everybody just asking me are related. Then I'm like, you know, I'm like, friends, please stop asking my sister.
You know,
so
as I've grown, I've gotten to embrace it. That brings us to the end of this episode. Please tell us your experiences on sisterhood and how each season has been for you and your siblings. Doesn't even have to be sisterhood only, it can also be your brothers. Please remember to follow us on our social media platforms and our podcast platforms, because we're also on audio. Until next time, this is aFREEcanah.